Hey y'all, Gary with Tennessee Stands. Hey look, about to have a lot of fun today. You want to watch every bit of this video. If you remember my video from almost 2 years ago on follow the money, whenever I connected these doctors that were lobbying our legislators on all of this masking nonsense and connected directly to the Democratic Party, well, this is one of those videos. So I'm hopeful that you guys are going to pass this around like wildfire, because we're talking about this insane bill that Speaker Cameron Sexton is running called HB 1201 that would require every 501c4 nonprofit advocacy organization to pull up its skirt and reveal its donor list and all of its expenditures just because it names the name of a candidate for office. Like, we're not talking about PAC activity or electioneering. If we just doing a video like I'm doing today, or like I always do, if I do a video and I show you a committee hearing, and I say, Representative such and such said this in committee, I'm violating the law. And now all of a sudden, I have the state of Tennessee wants me to register as a PAC and show our whole donor list to the state and to the public because we talked about a political candidate. So we're gonna dig into some money shenanigans today, and I want to first off start with something that Speaker Cameron Sexton said this morning on the radio. This is live on the radio on the Mighty 990 in Memphis with Tim Van Horn. Listen in.
Mr. Speaker, that was Gary Humble from Friday. What do you say when being essentially accused of trying to silence the little man with this particular part of the amendment?
Well, that amendment has nothing to do with what he just said. That's the funny thing. We're not 60 days before an election of state. There's nothing that says that he can't express himself and put up his videos. There's nothing.
We're not 60 days before an election yet. He can still talk right now. I mean, we're not at 60 days before an election yet. He can still do his videos for right now.
Says that he can pay himself a salary out of Tennessee Stands, however much that is. I mean, no one's asking
however much that is
for that to be reported yet as part of expenditures.
We're not asking for that to be reported yet.
Part of expenditures. And so he can continue to do exactly what he's been doing. There's nothing there that's stopping him. All we're saying is if you get within 60 days of an election, then you need to say where you spent your money. And so he can continue doing what he wants to do.
All we're saying is if he talks about us when we're running for office, he has no more privacy. Tennessee Stands has no more privacy. The Tennessee Firearms Association, Americans for Prosperity, pick your advocacy organization. Yeah, we want to see all of their donor records. We want to deter any organization. We just don't want to be talked about whenever we're running for office.
And, he can take whatever take he wants. I see this for him merely as a mechanism to continue to trying to get non-disclosed contributions to his 501c4, which in turn, theoretically, he could turn around and use for himself in his own campaign and not disclose that he got money from other individuals.
So the root of the issue here is that you guys are concerned that I'm running against your majority leader in the Senate, Jack Johnson. And God forbid, I mean, you got to know where all that money comes from, by the way, which you will, because I have to disclose all of my campaign donations. But you're making an accusation on live radio that I am using Tennessee Stands 501c4 money directly to run my campaign. Do you know what kind of an accusation that you're making? I have a campaign finance account, and it's all being reported to the state. In fact, to date, I've raised $30,000 for my campaign, and believe me, we need a lot more. But that's what we have. I'm going to show everybody your money, Mr. Sexton, here in just a minute. So we'll get into that. But y'all, that's not even the fun part yet. So first off, there's an accusation now that, well, Gary Humble, Tennessee Stands, he's just funding his own campaign. Listen to this.
This is the same thing that George Soros is doing in campaigns. He's opening up 501c4s, putting in millions of dollars, and going after a conservative candidate. And so all we're saying is it shouldn't matter if you're conservative or if you're the liberal organization or nonpartisan organization. We're treating everybody the same, whether you're George Soros or Gary Humble.
We're treating everybody the same. I mean, whether you're George Soros or Gary Humble. Did this fool on live radio just compare me, Tennessee Stands, Gary Humble, to George Soros, y'all? I mean, Gary Humble, George Soros. I mean, we need to know what these guys are up to. All right. So I've got to be honest, Speaker Sexton clearly played his hand a little bit this morning on the real intentions behind HB 1201 and the kind of government regulation they really intend to put in place. And clearly, they're nervous, they're concerned, and they don't want us talking about them. They don't want you to know the kinds of things I'm about to show you right now. So let's go to that. All right. So look, y'all, I'm about to go down the rabbit trail here a little bit, and here's Cameron Sexton's campaign account. Now understand something, because you're about to see some big numbers. What you need to understand is that this is only Q4. This is only October through December of 2021. So we're just talking about 1 quarter, okay, of an annual report. So this is very small. This doesn't even go back year to year on all the other campaign contributions. So we're looking at a really small window of time. In just that 3-month period, Mr. Sexton took in a lot of donations there. Took in $272,000 into his campaign account just in 3 months. And after disbursements and expenditures, he's still sitting on $350,000 in his campaign account. But I'm not done yet because I haven't even showed you his PAC yet. But what I want to do, though, is I want to show you these campaign donations because you got to understand something. Look, the reason that they're frustrated is one of the commitments I've made publicly is that I will not take a dollar from special interest. I'm not going to do it. My campaign is not taking a dollar, a dime, a penny from special interest. Why? Because I don't want to be entangled with any of the things that I'm about to show you. And if there's one thing that we've seen over the last 2 years since Tennessee Stands has been showing you all of the nonsense going on in committees, it's that it's pretty clear that from elections to medical freedom to all of the things going on in our education, that these folks are bought off. They are bought and paid for, and I refuse. I refuse to be entangled in any of those financial dealings because I'm not going to have a return on investment on how I serve the public. It's not going to happen, all right? So that's one of the reasons we have a PAC. Tennessee Stands has a PAC. It's called the Stand for Tennessee PAC. That PAC is meant with one sole purpose, to fund candidates for for school board and for county commission in counties across the state. I've already communicated to my advisory board about 3 months ago, before I really decided to run, that we were not going to take a dollar from that PAC and spend it on my campaign. Why? Because I don't want even the sniff of impropriety with that money. Secondly, I'm going to show you Cameron Sexton, his PAC here in just a minute. I don't have a candidate PAC. All I have is my campaign account. Gary, why don't you have a campaign PAC? Because I don't want to touch any special interest money. I don't want to be entangled with any kind of PAC money. I don't want anyone to be able to say that Gary's taking in thousands of dollars and look how he's spending them, and there's he's just falsifying records. He's taking in this money from this special interest group and he's spending it this way. Like, I don't even want to touch that stuff. So I don't even have a candidate PAC like what I'm going to show you. All I have is my campaign account. And since I'm not taking special interest money, I can only take money from individuals. And those limits are $1,600 per individual. You can't write a check for $10,000 to my campaign. I can't take it. I have no way to take it in, because I'm not taking special interest money, and I don't have a PAC to flood that cash into. All right. So that's where I am. Let me show you how these guys are. So we're going to go back to Cameron's. Let me just show you some of the money coming into his campaign, and they're all special interest. $8,000 from A Better Tomorrow. That's a development firm. Amazon.com, $5,500. AT&T Tennessee. the Beverage Association, BNSF Railway, Funeral Services, Bristol Myers, pharmaceuticals there, healthcare. What else? I'm going to show you all these things. Delta Dental and DentaQuest, so dentist industry. Eli and Lilly, pharmaceuticals. Eye Doctors, FedEx Corporation, Five Oaks Development, more development money. What else we got? We're going to keep going. I'm going to come back to this great public schools in a minute. That's what we're going to dig into. $10,000 from great public schools. What is that? I want to know. I'm going to show you. But let's go look at, a physicians pack, the Highland Physicians Pack, financial advisors, insurance companies. Oh, what else do we have here? Food stores, Marathon Petroleum, pharmacy, Tennessee Business Leaders for Common Sense. Would love to know what that is. I wonder if they actually have common sense. Maybe they do. I'm not sure. Lots more fun stuff here. Let's see. The Tennessee Apartment Pack. Nurses, Association of Broadcasters, bankers, chiropractors, more dentists, convenience stores and grocers, highway contractors, hospitality. Boom! 20 grand from the realtors. Go Tennessee Realtors. The Tennessee Volunteer Pack. I have no idea what that is yet. The wine and spirits retailers here in Tennessee. United Health, Insurance, Vertex Pharmaceuticals. So, I mean, look, y'all, lots of fun stuff here. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything I wanted to point out. Oh, I forgot. Man, sorry. Pfizer Pack, and Pharma Tennessee. All right, so look, are we clear? I mean, we're concerned about pulling up the skirts of 501c4s here in the state of Tennessee for organizations like Tennessee Stands, clearly, who I think if you've spent any time listening to what we have to say over the past 2 years, stand on the side of the Constitution and on the liberties of Tennesseans. That's what we do. That's why we exist. And we are consistent in that message. But let's go back, and here's where the follow the money stuff really starts. So pay attention. We're going to have some fun. Great Public Schools Pack, $10,000. Now, Mr. Sexton accused me of being connected to George Soros. I can't prove that this is directly connected to George Soros, but I promise you, I've only dug at this for about an hour and a half, and I'm going to come real close. So what is the Great Public Schools Pack? Well, if you go look up on the Tennessee Election Finance site and you look up Great Public Schools, you'll see something that I thought was incredibly interesting. At the beginning of Q4, they started with $34,000, and they only took in one donation. So this is who they're primarily being funded by. They're clearly a pack of City Fund. This is their sole contributor in the state of Tennessee. They took in $85,000 from the campaign from Great Schools, also known as the City Fund, out of Falls Church, Virginia. And we're going to take a look at what the City Fund is, because we want to know, where's this money coming from? But this Great Schools Pack that gave 10 grand to Cameron Sexton, where else is this money going? As you can see, it's going to several elected officials here in Tennessee. But let's look at some of where this money really goes. $25,000 to the House Republican Caucus, $3,000 to Jack Johnson, the Senate Majority Leader, $3,000 to William Lamberth, the House Majority Leader, $13,000 to Governor Bill Lee, $10,000 to Randy McNally in the Senate, to his PAC, the McPAC, $25,000 to the Senate Republican Caucus, and, of course, the $10,000 that we already saw to Cameron Sexton. So we can see clearly that this organization, funded by the City Fund, is doling out thousands of dollars and funding these Republican campaigns here in the state of Tennessee. And again, what we're trying to show you is how bought by special interests these people really are. So why would any Republican who actually believes in conservative values take any money whatsoever from organizations funded by people like what I'm about to show you? So who is City Fund? Well, I do what I do, And I went pull up City Fund's tax returns from 2018, and you can see it's the same organization, the City Fund, on Seven Corners Center in Falls Church, Virginia. All right? Principal Officer John Arnold. Hang on to that name because that's going to be important here in just a minute. But one of the key things on this tax return that I think is really critical, it was a huge, sort of for me, something to pay attention to. In 2017, this organization took in $1.9 million. In 2018, they took in almost $79 million. That's a really massive jump, would you agree, in 1 year from just under $2 million to just under $79 million. So it begs the question, where is this money coming from, and who are these people that are funding these Republicans here in the state of Tennessee? Well, you can go down on this tax return, and you can see who runs this organization. Bear with me as I scroll. All right. Again, you see this the chair of the board, John Arnold. So just hang on to that for a second, okay? Again, that name's important. But let's look at who their director is. So director and managing partner is this guy named Nirav Kingsland. Nirav Kingsland. He runs the City Fund. He runs their communications. He runs their mission. He's the executive director. He's my counterpart to that organization as I run Tennessee Stands. So who is Nirav Kingsland? Well, I went to fec.gov where you can see the federal campaign contributions of persons. Well, first off, you'll see real quick, Nirav Kingsland is a Hillary Clinton contributor. Now, that should be an instant red flag to you as to who these people really are. So who is the City Fund? Who is this great public schools PAC that's giving thousands of dollars to Speaker Sexton and all these other Republican leaders while they accuse me of being Tennessee's George Soros? Not only is Nirav Kingsland a Hillary Clinton donor, but he works for an organization called the John and Laura Arnold Foundation. Now, remember I told you to keep an ear out for that name, John Arnold. The John and Laura Arnold Foundation. So who are they? Well, John and Laura Arnold, who Nirav Kingsland works for, while he's also the managing partner of the City Fund, who funds great public schools, who funds campaigns like the Senate Republican Caucus in Tennessee, and Cameron Sexton and Jack Johnson and Randy McNally. These people run a foundation called Arnold Ventures, and they pour millions of dollars. Millions. And million. We're talking, I don't know how people have this much money. I really do. I don't know where this money comes from. But they pour millions of dollars in large chunks into organizations like the City Fund. And you ask yourself, how did the City Fund go from $1.9 million to $78.9 million in 1 year? Well, it's because of John Arnold. So let's look at their grants. Arnold Ventures shows you the grants that they seed. And I'm going to click on View All Grants. And then I'm going to sort by the most given. Ho! There we go. The City Fund, a K-12 organization. So if you wonder how the City Fund jumped by millions of dollars in 1 year, well, look no further than Nirav Kingsland's foundation that he also works for, and John and Laura Arnold. From 2018 to 2021 alone, this one foundation seeded $72.6 million into the City Fund, and they've already committed from 2021 to 2024 another $50 million in grants that they're going to continue to pour into this organization. So now you see where the money's coming from. It's coming from John and Laura Arnold. It's coming from Arnold Ventures. So now the final question we're going to ask, who are these people? What's their mission? Why are they funding the City Fund? And why is the City Fund funding Republicans in the state of Tennessee? Let's go up and look at their work. Arnold Ventures. Holy moly. Look how fun. They do all the things, y'all. Policing. This is one of their key initiatives. Let's look at what that means. Law enforcement must act in service to communities by promoting public safety with reverence for life and dignity. Does that sound like code word for defund the police? Or is it just me? But it doesn't stop there. What else are they working on? Research on gun violence. All right, let's take a look at that. We need to treat gun violence like a public health crisis and invest in rigorous research to save lives. All right, we're starting to build a profile here. So clearly, we're also talking about folks that are against the Second Amendment. Does this sound like a conservative organization to you? No. Let's look at one more thing. What other kind of work are they about? Contraceptive choice and access. That sounds fun. Let's take a look at that one. Women have a right to high-quality reproductive care and should be able to make their own health decisions. All right. So, just follow me here. You have Speaker Cameron Sexton, Speaker Randy McNally, Leader Lamberth, and Leader Jack Johnson, the Senate Republican Caucus, and the House Republican Caucus, who have taken tens of thousands of dollars from a PAC called the Great Public Schools PAC, who is funded solely by an organization called the City Fund, run by Nareeve Kingsland, who is funded almost solely by Arnold Ventures, run by John and Laura Arnold, whose mission in life is to defund the police, promote abortion, and take guns, remove the Second Amendment. And while they're all taking in this money into the Republican Party, into these conservative campaigns, they're trying to attack Tennessee Stands and accuse me of being like George Soros and fraudulently funding George Soros' dark money funds into my big, massive campaign that I'm running against Senator Jack Johnson. All right? That's where we are. So I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to show you how these PACs work. So I showed you a minute ago that in Cameron Sexton's campaign account alone, there's over $350,000 sitting in there. Well, here's his PAC. So this is what I don't have and what I refuse to have. This is what I will not have for my campaign. Cameron Sexton, not only does he have a campaign account, he also has a PAC which currently has another $418,000 sitting in it on top of the $330,000 that's in his campaign account. And so the first question is, well, where's all that money coming from? Well, it's more the same. More big PAC money. It's all Amerigroup Corporation, more AT&T PAC money. What else is in here? Charter Communications, so cable, internet, entertainment, on and on and on. More just PAC money from every industry you can think of, including pharmaceuticals, medical, everything, healthcare, all this sort of stuff. All right. So what do they do with all of this money from these PACs? Well, here's his PAC expenditures. Advertising, fundraising, travel, travel, hotels, travel, schmoozing, big fundraisers, $15,000, $20,000 fundraisers, schmoozing the constituents, taking folks out to eat, blah, 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 flowers. Oh, a contribution to Bill Lee. I love this one, to the Nashville Sounds. Purchased tickets for constituents. We're gonna buy voters tickets. Don Rich, who my understanding is a private pilot, so we're gonna hire out pilots for our planes. S&S Strategy, he pays his political consultant Chip Saltzman, who's one of the folks that comes up with all of the nonsense that Cameron Sexton does. Who else? Airfare. Tennessee Legislative Campaign Committee. I don't know what that is. Zoom call. So look, the thing you got to understand is they all have these PACs. They take in, hundreds, tens, and hundreds of thousands of dollars from all of these special interests, and it's just a big slush fund, and it's no wonder why these people are so heavily influenced on all of these bills that we try to run in the General Assembly. And they're influenced by everyone else but the people of Tennessee. Because when it comes to securing our elections and protecting your medical freedom and protecting our kids in school, and all of the things that we want to do as parents and voters and just everyday people in Tennessee, why do all of those things keep dying in committee? Because they're getting paid. And because they're enjoying all of the private planes and hotels and airfare and food and trips and, whatever it is that they spend money on. All of the money that I have promised never to take in and never to expend. And I won't. And what else do they have to do now at this point but to possibly make some ridiculous accusation that I'm just like George Soros? So, look, these people are trying to silence organizations whose sole existence is to show you these kinds of shenanigans that are going on in your General Assembly. The truth of the matter is, why are these guys so fat and happy Democrats and leftists who want to promote abortion, grab your guns, and defund the police? That's a fact. That's a fact. That's who they are. Well, that's not who I am. And let me just tell you something. You guys have picked the wrong fight. And I promise you, I don't care what you do, what you try, how many bills you pass, how many lies and accusations you make on the radio. The problem that you have is I don't give a rip. And I will never stop working for the people of Tennessee and telling them the God's honest truth on everything that's going on in this legislature, because we deserve to know and you deserve to be held accountable. So here's what you do, Tennessee. This is Monday, April 11th. Tomorrow on Tuesday, April 12th, HB 1201 is going before the House Local Government Committee at noon in Nashville at the Cordell Hull Bldg. Everyone within the sound of my voice on this video should show up at the Capitol tomorrow and raise hell about this bill and shut it down. Because let me tell you something, this bill is a direct attack and affront to free speech and the constitutional liberties of every Tennessean. Not just 501c4s, but every Tennessean. Let me assure you, if this passes, it only sets a precedent, and it will not stop here. It will continue until they have done the work of completely shielding and protecting themselves from you ever knowing anything